Hi guys, what's going on? We are looking at adding tenths and hundredths. Thinking about equivalent fractions for tenths and hundredths. I have a couple examples up here real quick I want you to look at. So if you look at these pictures, the top half, I have two squares and I broke the first square up into 10 equal pieces. So I have tenths. And then the second square, which is the same size, I broke up into 100 little pieces. So I have hundredths. Okay, so basically we're making equivalent fractions for tenths and hundredths. Well, if you look carefully at my first picture, I have 3 of those shaded pieces in, so I'm representing 3 tenths. Well, we know math to go from 3 tenths to hundredths. I have the same amount of pieces shaded in as the first one, so they are equivalent. But if you look carefully, how many of those? We have 30 shaded in. We practice making the equivalent fractions for multiplying the top and the bottom by the same number, and we know that to get from 10 to 100, we multiply by 10. Whatever we do to the top, we do to the bottom. So 10 times 10 equals 100, 3 times 10 equals 30. So basically we're adding a 0 to the numerator and the denominator. Down below, I have another picture shaded in. So this one, think about how many pieces I broke up into that square into. I broke that up into hundredths. And then this square was broken up into tenths. So if we look carefully, which is kind of hard to see on the camera, thanks to my camera lady Gracie holding the camera. Let me see here. I know 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. It looks like I have 80 of those pieces shaded in. So I have 80 hundredths represented. So to represent the same fraction, I shaded in 8 tenths over here. And to go from 100 down to 10, I'm going to divide by 10. So 100 divided by 10 equals 10, and I have to do the same thing to my top, and 80 divided by 10 equals 8 tenths. So they're equivalent fractions. So if we're looking at an example like this one for adding, subtracting tenths and hundredths, Grace, you got that? Cool. So if I'm adding 31 plus 4 tenths, the first thing I want you guys to realize, just like we did last week, we're adding fractions with unlike denominators. We can't do that. We need fractions with the same denominator. So let's turn these 4 tenths into a fraction with a denominator of 100 because our common denominator is going to be 100. Well, 4 tenths is equal to, think about those models, 4 tenths is equal to 40 hundredths because all I have to do is multiply by 10. So now I have 40 hundredths, and then I can add my first added on of 31 hundredths. And let me see, 40 plus 31 is 71. So my answer is going to be 71 hundredths. 31 hundredths plus 4 tenths is 71 hundredths. Down below, we're subtracting 42 hundredths minus 1 tenth. Again, we have different denominators. So I'm going to take my 1 tenth and make an equivalent fraction for that with my common denominator of 100. And I know that 1 tenth is equal to 10 hundredths. So really, we're just adding a 0 on. So 1 tenth is equal to 10 hundredths. Then I can do my original equation. 42 hundredths minus 10 hundredths. Well, I know 42 minus 10 is 32. And my denominator is 100. Okay? And lastly, guys, we can represent that in a picture form. You got it? Cool. So I have 36, my equation is 36 hundredths minus 2 tenths. So my picture shows hundredths. And in that box, I have 36 of those shaded in. So I'm representing my first number of 36 hundredths. If I'm subtracting, I'm just going to cross out 2 tenths. And I know 2 tenths is equal to 20 hundredths. So I'm going to cross out 10, 20 hundredths right here. 20 hundredths, if I'm just using my picture. And what's left over is, let me see, I have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 hundredths. So that is my answer. 32 hundredths minus 2 tenths is 16 hundredths. Why don't you guys give it a shot? And I'll see you later. Oh yeah, I forgot. The word of the day is spring. And I'm going to sign it spring, like something's growing. All right, guys. Happy Monday. Peace.